Laura
Good
Wilson
morning,
is known
everybody.
online
We have
as
something
the
pretty
creator
exciting
behind
for
Real
you
Farms,
today.
but her public presence represents only a small part of her day-to-day work. She is a fifth-generation farmer based in south-central Nebraska, where she raises corn and soybeans as part of a long-established family operation. Her background in agriculture began early, shaped by hands-on experience rather than formal media training. In recent years, Wilson has gained a large audience by documenting ordinary farm tasks and seasonal work, offering viewers a direct look at modern Midwestern farming. Her videos focus on planting, harvesting, equipment operation, and the logistical decisions involved in running a large-scale farm. While her content appears simple, it reflects a working knowledge built through years of practical involvement. Beyond her online visibility, Wilson continues to manage real operational responsibilities on the farm, balancing production demands with the unexpected influence that comes from sharing agricultural life with a global audience. Laura Wilson is a fifth-generation corn and soybean farmer based in south-central Nebraska, where agriculture has been a defining part of her family's livelihood for generations. Farming was not a career she entered suddenly or for public attention. It was a path shaped by long-term exposure to daily farm operations, seasonal demands, and the realities of production agriculture. From an early age, she was involved in fieldwork, equipment operation, and decision-making processes that are typical of family-run farms in the region. Her role on the farm extends beyond basic labor. Wilson is directly involved in planting, harvesting, crop management, and equipment maintenance, responsibilities that require technical understanding and adaptability. Modern farming involves constant problem-solving, from weather variability to machinery issues and market pressures, and her work reflects those ongoing challenges. Rather than focusing on tradition alone, she operates within a contemporary agricultural system that relies heavily on technology, efficiency, and planning. Wilson began farming full-time in 2020, transitioning from supporting roles into a more central position within the operation. This shift coincided with a broader period of change in agriculture as farms increasingly relied on digital tools and data-driven practices. Her experience reflects that balance between generational knowledge and modern methods. While her public recognition has grown through online platforms, her primary identity remains rooted in agriculture. The farm is not a backdrop for content creation, but an active, working operation that continues to define her professional responsibilities and daily priorities. Laura Wilson's entry into online content creation developed gradually and without a formal strategy. During the pandemic period, she began recording short videos of routine farm activities, initially as a way to document daily work rather than to build an audience. These early recordings focused on practical tasks such as operating equipment, preparing fields, and managing seasonal transitions. At the time, her intent was informational rather than promotional. As the videos were shared, they began reaching viewers outside her immediate community. Many of these viewers had little direct exposure to farming and responded to the straightforward presentation of agricultural work. Without narration designed for entertainment, the content offered an unfiltered view of modern farming processes, which contributed to its wider circulation. Over time, this steady interest led to growth across multiple platforms, including YouTube, where longer-form videos allowed for more detailed coverage of farm operations. Wilson continued producing content while maintaining her regular workload, filming around planting and harvest schedules rather than creating content for its own sake. This approach influenced the structure of her videos, which often follow the pace and constraints of real farm work. There is limited scripting, and tasks are shown as they occur, including delays, adjustments, and routine maintenance. As her audience expanded, her role online became more defined, but the underlying format remained consistent. The growth of her channel was driven less by algorithm-driven trends and more by repeated exposure to everyday agricultural processes that many viewers rarely see firsthand. The content produced under the Laura Farms name centers on routine agricultural work rather than curated storytelling. Wilson's videos typically document planting, harvesting, equipment operation, and field preparation, presented in the order those tasks occur. This structure reflects the operational rhythm of a working farm, where schedules are determined by weather, crop conditions, and equipment availability, rather than content planning. A defining feature of her videos is the emphasis on machinery and process. Tractors, planters, combines, and support equipment are shown in active use, often with minimal commentary. When explanations are included, they focus on function and decision-making, such as why certain equipment is used or how adjustments are made in response to field conditions. This approach provides viewers with practical insight into modern farming methods without simplifying or dramatizing the work. Wilson's filming style remains largely consistent across seasons. Cameras are frequently positioned inside equipment cabs or handheld during maintenance and inspection tasks. This perspective allows viewers to observe operations from the farmer's point of view, rather than from an external or cinematic angle. Errors, interruptions, and routine challenges are typically left in the final videos, reinforcing the documentary nature of the content. The consistency of this format has helped define the channel's identity. Rather than shifting toward trend-based or entertainment-focused material, the content remains anchored in actual farm operations. This focus has contributed to a clear distinction between Laura Farms and lifestyle-driven agricultural content found elsewhere online. Beyond documenting daily operations, Laura Wilson's work has taken on an educational role for audiences unfamiliar with agriculture. Her videos frequently address basic questions about farming practices, crop cycles, and equipment use, often in response to viewer comments. These explanations are integrated into the work itself, providing context without interrupting the natural flow of tasks being performed in the field. Wilson's content serves as an informal bridge between agricultural communities and the general public. Many viewers have limited exposure to farming and rely on secondary sources for information about food production. By showing processes as they occur, she provides first-hand reference points that help clarify how large-scale crop farming functions. This includes illustrating the time, labor, and coordination required across a growing season, as well as the constraints imposed by weather and market conditions. Her role as an agricultural communicator has extended beyond her own platforms. Wilson has been featured in interviews and agricultural publications that highlight the value of transparent farm representation. These appearances emphasize her position as a working farmer rather than a media personality, reinforcing the credibility of her content. Despite increased visibility, Wilson maintains a clear boundary between education and advocacy. Her videos do not promote specific policies or products, but instead focus on explaining operational realities. This measured approach allows viewers to form their own understanding of agriculture based on observation rather than persuasion. As a result, her content functions as both documentation and public education, grounded in practical experience rather than messaging. As Laura Wilson's online visibility has increased, so has speculation about her personal life and professional role. Much of this commentary circulates outside of reliable sources and often blends assumption with limited publicly available information. Common misconceptions include the idea that her farming work is secondary to content creation, or that her operation exists primarily for media purposes. Available evidence does not support those claims. Wilson's farm functions as an active, production-based agricultural operation. The work shown in her videos aligns with standard practices for corn and soybean farming in the region, including seasonal timelines, equipment use, and labor demands. Filming occurs alongside these responsibilities rather than replacing them. There is no indication that her farming activities are staged or altered to serve online engagement. Another area of misunderstanding involves her level of experience. Some online discussions characterize her as a recent or symbolic entrant into agriculture. In reality, her involvement began well before her online presence, shaped by years of participation in a multi-generational family operation. Her transition to farming full-time in 2020 reflects a continuation of that path, not a departure from it. Speculation has also extended to her motivations for sharing content. While monetization is a standard feature of large online platforms, Wilson has consistently described her content as documentation and education rather than branding. Public statements and interviews emphasize her priority remains farm management. Separating verifiable information from online commentary is essential. What can be confirmed is that Wilson continues to operate within agriculture as her primary profession, with online visibility serving as a secondary outcome rather than the defining purpose of her work. As Laura Wilson's online visibility has increased, so has speculation about her personal life and professional role. Much of this commentary circulates outside of reliable sources and often blends assumption with limited publicly available information. Common misconceptions include the idea that her farming work is secondary to content creation or that her operation exists primarily for media purposes. Available evidence does not support those claims. Wilson's farm functions as an active, production-based agricultural operation. The work shown in her videos aligns with standard practices for corn and soybean farming in the region, including seasonal timelines, equipment use, and labor demands. Filming occurs alongside these responsibilities rather than replacing them. There is no indication that her farming activities are staged or altered to serve online engagement. Another area of misunderstanding involves her level of experience. Some online discussions characterize her as a recent or symbolic entrant into agriculture. In reality, her involvement began well before her online presence, shaped by years of participation in a multi-generational family operation. Her transition to farming full-time in 2020 reflects a continuation of that path, not a departure from it. Speculation has also extended to her motivations for sharing content. While monetization is a standard feature of large online platforms, Wilson has consistently described her content as documentation and education rather than branding. Public statements and interviews emphasize her priority remains farm management. Separating verifiable information from online commentary is essential. What can be confirmed is that Wilson continues to operate within agriculture as her primary profession, with online visibility serving as a secondary outcome rather than the defining purpose of her work. Laura Wilson continues to balance the demands of modern farming with the responsibilities that come from maintaining a large online audience. Her work remains centered on crop production, with content creation fitting around planting schedules, harvest windows, and equipment maintenance rather than dictating them. This approach reflects an ongoing commitment to agriculture as her primary occupation. She farms alongside her husband, Grant, and remains involved in long-term planning decisions that affect the operation's sustainability and productivity. These decisions include crop rotation, equipment investment, and adapting to environmental and economic conditions. Such planning underscores that the farm operates with a future-oriented perspective rather than short-term visibility. Wilson has indicated that her goal is to continue sharing farming life without shifting away from its realities. Her content has gradually expanded in scope but remains grounded in everyday work rather than curated narratives. This consistency suggests an effort to preserve accuracy and continuity as her platform grows. Looking ahead, her role is likely to remain a hybrid of farmer and communicator, shaped by public interest but defined by agricultural responsibility. The structure of her content suggests that any growth will continue to align with real farm operations rather than external trends. In an increasingly digital landscape, Wilson's presence represents a case where traditional agricultural work intersects with modern communication tools. Her ongoing focus on production, transparency, and routine labor positions her as a representative example of how farming can be documented without altering its core purpose or practice. Laura Wilson's work illustrates how modern agriculture can be documented without being reshaped for public consumption. Her online presence developed alongside her responsibilities as a working farmer, not in place of them. The content she produces reflects the operational realities of corn and soybean farming, grounded in experience rather than presentation. While her visibility has expanded her reach beyond traditional agricultural circles, her professional identity remains centered on production and long-term farm management. In presenting routine farm work as it occurs, Wilson provides a consistent and credible record of agricultural life, offering viewers insight into an industry that is often discussed but rarely observed firsthand.